excited to look with you as how to develop strategies to improve the implementation of social justice policies. Any policy is only as good as its implementation, and a successful implementation matters to us as social workers because it is here where we turn theory into practice. It is when a policy becomes reality for the stakeholders and our clients. So to begin with, it is important to remember that the implementation process does not begin only once a policy has been passed. Successful implementation already starts while developing and drafting a policy. And the policy to be implemented must be based on a valid and thought through theory of cause and effect. Because we as social workers will often be concerned with the implementation of social justice policies, I want to address some of the particularities about these kind of policies first, in order to understand potential implementation obstacles better. There will possibly be disagreement about what causes a social justice problem and how those causes should be addressed. Social justice issues have a number of driving factors, but some people, and most likely your opponents, will possibly take on a more social Darwinistic stand, while you might be coming from a more systems-oriented, system theory-informed approach. There will also be disagreement about how a social problem is perceived, especially because with social justice issues, there is a tendency to view a problem in a binary way. Social justice issues often involve multiple government departments, agency, or public services, which makes the implementation process much more complex than it was just if it was just the implementation of, let's say, an agricultural policy. Social justice issues are often highly charged with the emotions, and therefore naming and framing of a problem has to be done in a very sensible way. Necessary but difficult decisions are much more harder to make about social justice issues than with less emotional policies. Social justice issues or policies often take years to have a measurable effect and impact, but politics favors short-term outcomes. Therefore, it is especially important to keep the focus despite political transitions. And additionally to these distinct challenges, social justice policy implementers also face the same obstacles as other policy implementers do, which regularly concern the resources they have, which are time, money, and people. With these particularities about social justice policies in mind, the implementation process should be aware of the following tools and strategies. It is important to anticipate what obstacles to the implementation might arise, and to understand who your opponents are, what their goals are, and how they might act. Will they try to lessen the effectiveness of the policy? Will they try to intimidate your allied stakeholders? How will they try to do that? And what can you do to counter these efforts? Some of the counter strategies you have are turning something negative into something positive, reframing an issue. For example, the smoker's right becomes the right to breathe clean air, actively setting the agenda before the other side does, and publicly stating the opponent's strategy. The policy directive includes statements and specific instructions that are supposed to guide the organizations and agencies who implement the policy. A clear directive and implementers who are able to interpret the directive adequately are key for a successful implementation and can be used also by the implementers to justify their efforts. The high level of ambitions of social justice policy developers must be broken down into a clear definition of what the goal is and what the outcomes are that matters most for the implementation. Being clear about what matters most also makes it easier for the implementers to address severe cases which might otherwise fall under the table due to the pressure to show quick results. A clear definition also addresses how you define success, long-term or short-term outcomes, etc., and how you access the measures of success. What are your markers and your feedback loop to receive these markers? Structures to support implementation also include creating a strong leadership and involve implementers who are committed to the goal and passionate about reaching this goal. To define clear roles in the implementation process and the correct sequence of specific tasks. Really important is also to be concerned about the contextual understanding of the policy in the society by taking advantage of the media and creating social empathy amongst communities that are not beneficiaries of the policy directly. Last but not least, in order to achieve the policy's goal, the implementers as well as the policymakers want to keep a strong relationship with feedback loops and a continuous focus on understanding how the policy works out in the real world. I hope some of this helps you. Thank you so much.